And now for our next news special report.
Tonight we're tearing into a story that's shaken the foundations of the Republican primary. Imagine a debate stage with no debaters. That's right, the GOP debate in New Hampshire canceled. Why? Because Nikki Haley decided to play hardball, refusing to participate without President Trump. But here's the twist. Trump doesn't even need these debates. He's leading the polls by a country mile. And amidst this chaos, Tucker Carlson drops a truth bomb on Haley's real agenda. This isn't just about a debate, it's a full-scale battle for the heart and soul of the Republican Party. You think you know the whole story? Well, think again. We've got the details that will turn your perspective upside down, and trust me, you don't want to miss my final thought. It's going to be a game changer for how we view this political showdown. Now, before we dive into this political whirlwind, let me share something crucial. Just like the unexpected twists in our political arena, we're always seeking that game changer, that one thing that makes all the difference in our quest for robust reporting. Our sponsors play a pivotal role, much like Trump's undeniable influence in the GOP race. And speaking of game changers, I've stumbled upon an extraordinary product. It's a special collagen blend, outshining typical anti-aging products. Think of it as the Trump card in skincare. Thousands have already seen astonishing results, so don't miss out. Visit healthwithgary.com and grab a whopping 53% discount. This is your chance to back a winner in anti-aging. Now, in a dramatic turn of events that set the political world ablaze, ABC News canceled the upcoming Republican presidential debate. Why? Because Nikki Haley, the former governor of South Carolina, refused to step on stage without President Donald Trump. This decision sent ripples through the GOP, underscoring the deep divisions and strategic gameplay dominating the current political landscape. First, let's get a clear picture of the situation. Here's a glimpse of the media's take on this stunning cancellation. Watch.
In the race for the White House, a planned GOP debate in New Hampshire has been scrapped.
Yeah, it comes after Nikki Haley pulled out, saying she'd only attend tomorrow if former President Trump was also on stage.
That's who I'm running against. There is nobody else I need to debate. I have had 5 strong debates and have done plenty of them. He can't hide forever.
This follows former President Trump's landslide win in the Iowa caucuses this week. New Hampshire's primary is next Tuesday, the 23rd.
Now, Haley's move is bold and for some baffling. Why hinge her participation on Trump? Who's a no-show for the debates this cycle? Well, it's a strategic gamble aligning herself with the dominant force in the GOP, Trump. But it's more than that. It's a signal of the power dynamics at play within the party. Trump, leading in the polls, seems to tower over the race, making the debates appear almost redundant for his campaign. But here's what Haley herself says about the decision. Her explanation in her own words. Watch.
In New Hampshire's Live Free or Die primary, what could be Nikki Haley's do or die moment.
Welcome to Littleton. Okay, welcome to Littleton.
And the former UN ambassador taking no chances, saying she's not going to debate.
Did we expect to see you on the debate stage in New Hampshire? Is Trump going to be on the debate stage? Is that the metric?
I mean, I've debated 5 times already and had strong debates. Now it's time to get Trump on the stage.
Late today, Haley confirming that with Trump sitting out yet again, she won't attend the New Hampshire debate, making her case against Trump on the campaign trail instead.
70% of Americans have said they don't want to see another Trump-Biden rematch.
A recent CNN New Hampshire poll taken before the Iowa caucus and before several candidates dropped out shows the former UN ambassador trailing Donald Trump by just single digits, boosted in part by a key endorsement from the state's popular Republican governor, Chris Sununu.
This is Nikki Haley versus Donald Trump for the next week.
Haley now casting the race in the same binary, her versus her former boss, even as she failed to pull ahead of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in Iowa last night.
We deserve a new direction under new conservative leadership.
Not getting it could spell problems for Republicans in a general election, too. NBC News polling out of Iowa showing half of Haley's backers would vote for Biden over Trump in the general election.
Trump and Biden both lack a vision for our country's future because both are consumed by the past, by investigations, by vendettas, by grievances.
Her stance is clear. She sees this as a 2-horse race between herself and Trump, but her refusal to debate without Trump raises questions. Is this a sign of strength, showing allegiance to the party's frontrunner, or a sign of weakness indicating she can't hold her ground alone? On the flip side, Tucker Carlson, a conservative powerhouse, offers a scathing critique of Haley's actions and her political stance, and he doesn't mince words. He questions Haley's conservative credentials and strategic choices. Now let's take a look at what Carlson had to say.
The plan is Nikki Haley. Now, Haley frankly underperformed last night. They told us she was surging in Iowa. She was not surging. Nobody really likes her. She came in third by a thin margin, and that denies the media the chance to declare her the one true alternative to Donald Trump. But don't expect them to give up on Nikki Haley. A Nikki Haley presidency is a lot like a war with Iran. It's a terrible idea. No normal person wants it. But because a small, well-funded group of extremely enthusiastic activists are determined to have it anyway, we are perpetually on the verge of getting it. The next skirmish in this ongoing battle is going to take place a week from today in New Hampshire. And hard as it is to believe, Nikki Haley could do pretty well there. She could even win the New Hampshire primary, potentially. How's that possible, you ask? Well, it's taken a lot of coordinated effort and, above all, an awful lot of money. Judging from available disclosures, Nikki Haley's team is burning through about $3 million a week in New Hampshire. By contrast, Ron DeSantis seems to be spending zero there. Now, much of Haley's money comes not from Republicans or conservatives, but from committed Democratic partisans. Anti-civilization activist Reid Hoffman, for example, is a major Haley supporter. Reid Hoffman is the founder of LinkedIn. He's a friend of Jeffrey Epstein's, in fact. He's also the guy who funded E. Jean Carroll's assault case against Donald Trump. Reid Hoffman is a Democratic mega donor. In 2020, he gave $1 million to David Brock's American Bridge PAC. That's a group designed to physically harass Republican candidates. Hoffman's money has also helped to prop up the authoritarian governor of California, Gavin Newsom, as well as many others on approximately the same team. So you know exactly who he is. What's interesting is this cycle, Reid Hoffman is all in on Nikki Haley. His cash is paid for one of the most shameless propaganda operations in memory. So the very same people who told you 4 years ago that Joe Biden was a jovial, moderate grandfather is trying to return America to normal. Those same people are now trying to sell Nikki Haley as a conservative woman of principle. Haley's approval numbers among self-described conservatives remain remarkably high. Why? Well, because she's been endlessly promoted on the news outlets they watch and read. Thank you, Wall Street Journal. But those outlets are not telling them the truth. Nikki Haley is not a conservative. That's not a slam on her. It's just a fact. Nikki Haley's a committed neoliberal, just like her creepy little friend, Chris Sununu. And it's measurable. For example, how many Republican primary voters support the wave of illegal immigration that is currently destroying our country? Not many do, but Nikki Haley does. Illegal aliens are not criminals, she once explained to her friends at the Aspen Institute. We can't disrespect them. How dare you disrespect them? We should give them amnesty. Reid Hoffman agrees with that, and that may explain why he sent her so much money. Then there's the issue of BLM. Consider that. Did Republican primary voters support the rioting and looting and killing that enveloped this country after George Floyd died 3.5 years ago? They didn't seem to support it, but Nikki Haley did support it. Quote, "It's important to understand that the death of George Floyd was personal and painful for many. In order to heal, it needs to be personal and painful for everyone." Nikki Haley wrote that on Twitter as the fires were burning. Nikki Haley wanted the rest of us to suffer because some armed robber died of a drug OD after passing a counterfeit bill at a convenience store in Minneapolis. And in the end, we did suffer for it. We suffered very badly. Nothing in this country has been the same since. But Nikki Haley has never apologized for that. She meant what she said. Then you've got to wonder if normal people, if Republicans, for example, still want to spend billions more to the corrupt oligarchs in Ukraine. At one time, a lot of Republicans did want to send more money to Ukraine. But at this point, now that we have the evidence of what the results are, they probably have some reservations about that. And maybe most ominously, Nikki Haley buys into the anti-human, anti-science precepts behind the Green New Deal. Haley has said repeatedly that she accepts the terms of the so-called climate debate, as devised by the forces currently trying to destroy the West. Haley has declared climate change a, quote, national security issue. That's a position that further politicizes the U.S. military, something we very much don't need. Haley has suggested she'd be willing to accept more waves of so-called climate refugees from the world's poorest, most backward countries. The idea there is we displace these people from their ancestral homes in Africa and the Middle East by our selfish use of air conditioning and Chevy Tahoes. Therefore, we have a moral obligation to import them here along with their extended families and immediately give them free housing and health care for generations because it's only fair. Nikki Haley accepts that idea as reasonable. Needless to say, most Republican primary voters don't think that's reasonable at all. They think it's crazy and destructive, because it is. Not that they'll have a chance to complain about any of this if Nikki Haley ever became president. As she explained recently, people should not be allowed to express their opinions on the internet without first registering with the government. That's not exactly the constitutional position on free speech. That's the North Korean position on free speech. But whatever. Nikki Haley is our Margaret Thatcher. Yay, girl power. You wonder how many Republican voters could ever fall for something like that. Some of them probably will, the ones who haven't bothered to learn the details. In New Hampshire, it's not going to take a lot of those. New Hampshire has an open primary system, and that means that non-Republicans get to help choose the Republican nominee. Next week, estimates suggest that 40%, maybe more, of all primary voters in the Republican primary will not be Republican. And if Nikki Haley wins the primary next week, it will be because of people like the woman you just saw. They are the real Nikki Haley voters. Now, if Nikki Haley wins or even does very well in New Hampshire, it'll be a big story, of course, and we'll hear a lot about it. But then what happens? It's a long primary process. New Hampshire is just one small, heavily wooded state out of 50. Will Republicans in other states back Nikki Haley too? Will she win a string of these? Well, they're not going to vote for her voluntarily. Haley can only become the Republican nominee if Republican primary voters have no one else to vote for. So the plan works like this. Ron DeSantis drops out after losing a few contests in a row. He simply runs out of money and has to head back to Florida. That could happen. And at that point, liberal donors swing as a block behind Nikki Haley, giving her bottomless resources. That's already happening right now. And then critically, Donald Trump goes to jail. And that could happen too, to be honest. And at that point, bam, Nikki Haley wins the Republican nomination by default. Now, it's not a foolproof plan. A lot could go wrong. But at this point, it's the only plan. It's all that Democrats have.
It's all they've got. Carlson's take is a piercing insight into the conservative mindset. He frames Haley as a figure out of touch with the base, a globalist in conservative clothing. His critique reflects the skepticism that some conservatives feel about Haley, questioning whether she truly represents their values and concerns. And the debate fiasco and Haley's subsequent solo town hall on CNN suggests a deeper narrative at play. It's not just about a debate, it's about the direction of the Republican Party. Haley's maneuvering and Carlson's counterpoint highlight a party at a crossroads grappling with its identity in the Trump era. And as for Trump, his refusal to participate in any debate sends a message of confidence, positioning himself above the fray. His strategy seems to be working, given his lead in the polls, but it also leaves a void in the public discourse, a missed opportunity for robust political debate and scrutiny. So this entire episode is a microcosm of the larger battle within the GOP, a battle of ideologies, strategies, and visions for the future. The cancellation of the debate is not just a scheduling issue, it's a reflection of the power dynamics within the party and the media's role in shaping political narratives. With the GOP debate canceled and the New Hampshire primary looming, the Republican landscape is more turbulent than ever. Haley's move has put her campaign in a delicate position. Is she banking on Trump's endorsement? Yeah, right. Or is she trying to position herself as his political heir? Well, time will certainly tell. Other candidates like Ron DeSantis are now left navigating this new Trump-centric political landscape, trying to find their footing in a race overshadowed by Trump's larger-than-life persona. As for the voters, they are the ultimate losers in the situation, deprived of an opportunity to see a full spectrum of ideas and debates on the issues that matter, especially watching Trump trounce Haley at a debate. And wrapping up, folks, if you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is coming up next. Now, tonight's story goes beyond a mere debate cancellation. It's a revealing look at the power dynamics that's shaping our nation. Nikki Haley's decision to avoid the debate stage without Trump isn't just short-sighted, it's a strategic misstep, demonstrating a lack of independent leadership. This move, compounded by CNN's eagerness to prop her up, only highlights her inadequacies as a potential leader. Tucker Carlson's warning about Haley shouldn't be taken lightly either. It's a wake-up call to the conservative base about the real stakes of this election. As we face the aftermath of Biden's administration's policies, the choice for New Hampshire voters becomes crystal clear. President Trump remains the only viable option to restore America's greatness. And for the good of the party and for the good of the country, it's time for Haley and DeSantis to step aside and let true conservative leadership take the forefront. Voters, now more than ever, must rally behind a leader who can genuinely bring about change and rejuvenation to our great nation. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.